Hello everyone and welcome back. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Today I'll be showing a few final tips and relevant shortcut tools or commands in Photoshop, some demonstrations of my own work with the software, whereby I'll also share some useful sites for inspiration before the introduction of Illustrator. As I mentioned before, I am not that much of a professional. I am still improving on my own style, and I hope these kind of tutorials help you with your projects. So far, we've been through knowing about tools and how to use it, which is relevant to the rendering work you're doing, such as a site analysis, sections, and other perspective drawings. I haven't shown a proper demonstration, which I will do so after. Now, when it comes to having a rendering style, I can only summarize it to three types. The first being simple and clean, which allows you to show any technical or sectional details. This can apply to having a simple black and white floor plan surrounded with a colorful context. This is important in showing technical details and furniture layouts, for example, and whatever else you want to show. However, with the second type, it's the opposite. You can have a detailed rendering of your floor plan to give it life and to show your rendering skills. Showing shadows and contrast of colors give a really bold expression and draws your work out. The third type is a combination of the two. You can either be simple, for example, having a monochromatic scheme, black and white to keep it clean, or even to keep everything rendered. Having to render everything will take time, and it's not really recommended to color everything. You should always plan things in your schedule, as rendering digitally may take time, depending on how fast you can work. To begin with, let's know and understand shortcuts in Photoshop. The shortcuts I'm using right now are in Windows. They're mostly comprised of the Shift, Control, or Alt buttons. With Mac laptops, the additional key is the Command button. They perform the same actions, and there's not much of a difference between the two systems. To begin with, ArchDaily is one of the websites that I use mostly to browse through existing projects. They have thousands of projects varying in different types and ranging from commercial to mini houses. It is also useful in terms of precedent and case studies. You will always need some sort of pre-existing information to support your design, especially technical approaches. There are other sites or social pages that you can refer to. It doesn't have to be ArchDaily. Here's a list of sites from my lecture that you can search on. Please pause the video to take a screenshot. On the contrary, Pinterest is your best friend for mood board or generally board ideas. You can also see how they showcase their ideas, whether it be in a visually appealing perspective or an easy to understand diagram that still has its charm. Indeed, there are a lot to choose from, so you should be careful and limit to what and how you want to present your boards based on the chosen inspiration. On the other hand, looking up at previous works of architecture students' portfolio and how they display it gives you an idea or inspiration to start. There are different types of styles and how information is shown. Some say to show visual images more over words, some say it has to be the other way. In my opinion, it's best to balance both sides and instead show your skills in this portfolio, whether it's in AutoCAD, Photoshop, Illustrator, SketchUp, Revit, etc. Speaking of these skills, as my lecturer has mentioned to our class, following the current software trends or demands is important to get into an architecture firm. Every day there will be innovations, and with that said, having the basic skills of new softwares will help to broaden your knowledge, the creativity of building, planning, and understanding on how to resolve an issue. Well then, that's enough of me talking. Follow me on how I use the Photoshop tools as a part of my portfolio or any other work. I'll be working on my site analysis, a floor plan, and a visual perspective of one of my interiors. There are two methods you can do for your site analysis, the automatic and the manual, but there are a few things you can and cannot do on either methods. The automatic method is using a site that allows you to alter and show a few things on your map. The site that I'm using is called mapbox.com, and it is convenient that the map is already prepared for you. You can select a certain style and colors according to the selected theme. As you can see, there are tools and options on the left side. You'll need some time, maybe an hour or two, to explore the given options. So far, I've only learned and understood how to add or remove road labels, change the base colors for different elements, and export it in high quality. On the other hand, the manual method that I've learned before is using AutoCAD and Google Maps. This is a little bit tricky if you don't really know how to convert dimensions and scales, but it's okay. I've had some difficulties along the way too. You can use Google Maps from Chrome or Google Earth Pro from their site. Google Earth Pro allows a higher quality of image to be exported compared to Google Maps from Chrome. From Google Maps, I searched for the site location and roughly sized the scale with a scroll of the mouse. I will try to take in the surroundings as much as I can without neglecting the site location. You want to show the site plan more visibly than your surroundings. There will be different scales required for your presentation boards, and you should never neglect the importance of scales as it helps to visualize the space you have. We know that the width of a road is typically 3 meters. As you can see, this is a two-way road. We can scale it as a 1:1 scale later in AutoCAD. And don't worry about changing scales, we will get into that later. Import the map into AutoCAD as shown. Right now, you're not sure if the image itself is a 1:1 scale or just a random scale. A 1:1 scale means that the image is equivalent to a real size dimension of the buildings or any other elements. Different projects will have different scales, for example, 1:1, 1:50, 1:150, or 1:200. The bigger the number, the bigger the surrounding and smaller site plan. When you want to change scales, it's better to change the paper size instead of the drawing. This prevents the 1:1 dimensions from changing into an inaccurate number. My classmates and I have roughly measured the size of the plan, length, and exterior-wise. You should measure as accurately as possible to add on the setbacks and boundary. This is additional numerical information for your plan. Make sure your units are in millimeters or meters, according to your preference. Personally, I like to work in millimeters as I have gotten quite used to it. Draw a line on the one-way road and rescale it to 3 meters, if it's not 3 meters yet. After scaling, you can start tracing on top of the image to get your site plan. You should be able to get the similar dimensions as you've measured during on-site. It may not be 100% accurate, but as long as the road is 3 meters wide for one way, then it should be fine. This is the result after tracing the map. My classmate has also added on the setbacks and boundary lines, and it is highlighted in red lines. The setback line is where you can design the building on. It is also helpful to add labels of the street name and roads. I will be showing a tutorial about AutoCAD later on in the future. The difference between the manual and the automatic is just the additional input of the setback and boundary lines. You can easily offset from the drawn lines. The manual method allows you to render freely after you have imported it as a PDF file, although it will take longer.